I'd now like to introduce our speaker, and our speaker is Lisa Winston. Lisa is a gifted vocalist, a #1 international best-selling author of Your Turning Point. She's a TV host and an inspirational speaker. A life of extreme challenges, including losing her home to wildfire and breast cancer, made her hungry for a deeper connection to Source and determined to find her true calling. Today, she shares the message that life is always happening for you, and challenges are sent to refine, not define you. She co-hosts and produces the Mindset Reset TV show, a weekly series that reaches millions worldwide. Lisa is so grateful to be mom to her beautiful daughter, Sarah, and to live, teach, and speak across the globe with her soulmate and life partner, Joe Vitale. Lisa will share how the miracle of yes can help guide and challenge us to live purpose-filled lives. We look forward to your talk, Lisa.
Thank you, Jeannie, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you, Mona, because my allergies just happened to hit 20 minutes ago. So I want to apologize if my throat goes wonky and my eyes were going wonky. If you saw me doing my energy exercises, I do those all the time to open everything up. And so that's what I was doing. I wasn't having a seizure or anything. So anyway, good morning, everybody. I am so honored and blessed to be here. And I want to thank Celia, my beautiful friend, for inviting me. Celia and I have a wonderful story. We met years and years and years ago when my daughter was very young, and somehow the universe brought us back together again, and it's been such a joy. So anyway, in the time that I have, I'm going to try to give some of my perspective and my thoughts through my life experience on the miracle of yes. And my name's Lisa Winston, you already know that. And I do have to tell you, I'm a yes girl. Now, I know some of you are going to say that has a negative connotation. I don't like the sound of that. And it's funny because I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So saying yes to life, what does that even mean, right? Well, #1, saying yes to life challenges. Life is filled with good and bad. And I know those are just labels because life just is. We get what we get. But when challenges normally come, we normally all resist, we blame. A lot of times we're a victim. I spent 45 years in the victim mode until I really started to wake up and consciously practice my awakening. And I think that's a normal pattern for a lot of us. And I love giving quotes. So I'm going to give some of my favorite quotes as well. What we resist persists, and what we focus on grows. And that is so true. And in my own experience, the life lessons that we're here to learn, to grow, and be all that we're here to be will continue to come to us unless we step in and say yes and start the process of evolution. And it is not always easy, let me tell you. I won't even go into the challenges that I had before the fire and the breast cancer. We'll start just from that point. Also, it means to surrender and trust. Surrender, it has been my lifelong lesson, and it is one of the hardest lessons because just when you think you've surrendered to something, you still find that you're holding on white-knuckled. Surrender is so difficult to do, and you really have to allow yourself to feel into it. Trust is hard too. Trusting that the divine always has our back, and it always does. But I'll share in some of my stories how I worked through that because that's a difficult thing too. I also have to share, the obstacle is the way. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's a wonderful quote and it's really true. That challenge, that obstacle that's been put in front of you is your saving grace. It's your gift. It is your lesson, and it is here for you to grow. Like I said, life is happening for us, not to us. And another one that I learned through one of my more recent challenges is that the only way out is through. There's no magic pill. We can't just magically, walk from one side to the next. When we're going through a challenge, we've got to work through it. And in the process, we become more. That's the beauty of it. That's where we get to grow. So what I want to share also is, and you can take notes on this if you want to, but what are you saying yes to? We always say, what does it mean to say yes? Well, what are you saying yes to? Are you saying yes to your no's? Because if you're saying yes to your no's, you are saying yes to lack, your limitations, impossibilities. So be careful what you're saying yes to. You want to say yes to the possibilities, the opportunities, abundance, joy, love. Say yes to those things. So, and I'll just briefly share about my experience. Back in 2007 and 2008, my biggest challenge, and I've had lots and lots of them before that, traumas and dramas, was losing my house to wildfire in San Diego. And I lost my home in the middle of the night in about 10 minutes. And my daughter had lost her dad's house in a fire 4 years previous to this one. So we had a big trauma drama going on there. And then 2 months after we lost our home, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was really given the opportunity. That was kind of the big 2x4. I had had lots of opportunities to grow before. And you know how a lot of times we listen or we gripe and complain and we really don't get the lesson. We just go on to another lesson that's very similar, or with, or relationships that are very similar to the relationships we left because we've never really grown enough to make better choices. So it was meant to deepen my journey. And I really started in that moment when I started to rebuild my life and go through surgery and all the things I went through. I was given the opportunity to really walk in present moment time, which we talk about being in present moment awareness, because I had lost everything. I had to start all over again. And so every day I had no idea what was really going to happen. And I also want to share as a side note that a year previous to the fire, I had actually been reading Eckhart Tolle's book. I was getting more into my Qigong and my meditation practices and connecting to spirit because I was called, and I had been suffering for so many years that I started to turn to God. And one of the things I loved about Eckhart Tolle's book was there was something in there called dying to self. That is losing all of your attachments to people and things before you die. And so my prayer had become, Spirit, help me to die to self before I die, lose all of my attachments. Well, be careful what you pray for. And I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm just saying that when you ask, you receive. And unbeknownst to me, I started something really big happening when I did that prayer. And then a year later, I lost my home to wildfire and everything. And then I had the breast cancer. So all good, but this was my process and my journey. So what happens when you say yes? What happens? Well, number one, you grow. Your faith grows. Your strength grows. Your resiliency grows. Your determination grows. Your intuition opens. And that's a big one that I want you all to take down, because if you are not practicing your daily connection to source, your relationship with source, hearing your inner guidance, seeing the synchronicities, following those, then you are missing out on these beautiful moments that actually lead you, those baby steps, that's one baby step at a time, that take you where it is you're supposed to go. We're always looking to other people for answers. And we have it within ourselves. We're connected to the universal mind, which is us. We just have to develop a relationship with spirit and start asking and listening. So I am an intuitive empath, sensitive, and that's how I live my life. And even when it doesn't make sense, when it's unknown, when it's scary and hard, that's how I live my life, because it has become such a gem. It is a gem, and it's a gift. You see, again, synchronicities, little steps that take you where it is you're supposed to go. And you see divine orchestration. You see the divine orchestrating every area of your life, which is bizarre because you couldn't do it as well as the divine does in a million years. So it's really worth checking out. Your path opens. The things that you're supposed to do, the people you're supposed to meet, the places you're supposed to go start to miraculously and magically appear. They start opening up when you say yes. And you become an open vessel to greater serve the divine, to become, more of who you're here to be. We're all teachers of a sort. We're all teaching somebody something, and we're all learning ourselves. So you want to really open up to that. And my next story is about my mom. And this is going to demonstrate, and I hope somebody's keeping track of time, but I want to demonstrate what I mean. So 2 years ago, I got a hit to go live with my mother. My business is in full swing. I'm living in San Diego. And I had just seen her. I went to my class reunion in Pennsylvania. Then I got a hit, and I knew that it was a hit. And I thought, man, I must be crazy. This is just really weird. So I talked to my roommate. She goes, yeah, I got that hit for you too. I was like, oh, okay. So I packed up all my stuff, put it into storage. And in the meantime, I had these synchronistic hits that led me to my life partner, Joe Vitale. And we had met for the first time the end of January in 2018. So after I met him, I got in the car, I started driving to Pennsylvania, a long drive from California. And halfway across the country, I get a call from my sister. Hey, Lisa, Mom just got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer and she's dying. I get emotional when I hear that, even today. If I hadn't have said yes, if I didn't listen to my inner guidance, even when it made no sense, even when it was crazy, unknown, I would have missed out on months, my last precious months with my mother, living in her home, taking care of her every day. And it was precious and it was hard, but it was precious. I also had miracles happening because I had said yes in a greater way over the last year or two before this. I would have missed out on my developing relationship with Joe. I would have missed out on writing my book, which was my life experiences, and it just was channeled. It just came through. Every morning before my mom got up, I would sit and write that book. I would have missed my television show falling in my lap, and I mean, it literally happened that way. So if you can see, when you say yes, things start to really open up and happen for you, and they all make sense. And there's this divine thread that just leads us where we're supposed to go. And again, it can take years, it can take time. And what I'd love for all of you to do is to go back and look at your life experiences, look at the good ones, look at the ones that have been challenging for you, journal about it or reflect about it, and really start to see if you can find the synchronicities, those little points in time, those little dots that just, oh my God, I never saw that. They connect and they led me to this place, this person, this thing. See if you can see the divine orchestration in things, how it turned out. And I'm not saying, it always turns out good. I have another story to share with you because I was in that miracle space, that miraculous place where everything was falling in my lap. I was connected to source. I felt divine, unconditional love. And so I thought, we're in the miracle space, and I write about it and everything is going to be peachy from now on. Well, life happens, right? And life brings you all kinds of things, and life is life. And it includes positive and negative things, again, labels. So how do we say yes? Because it is one of the hardest things to do. First of all, remember, when we say no to things and we resist, that is an energy. That is something that holds us back. That is just, if you sit and you feel into things as an intuitive, I love to feel into things. And this is what I teach people: feel into what you are feeling. Like, what are you holding on to? What are you surrendering, resisting surrendering to? What are you white knuckled holding on to? Feel it. It's just an energy. If you've ever seen that meme that I love, if there's a picture of a donkey and he is tied to a plastic chair and yet he's not moving because he thinks that chair is immovable, but he's really free. He's not a prisoner. He can move at any time. That's what we do. We're prisoners to our thoughts. We're prisoners to our beliefs. We're prisoners to our fears. So what are you holding yourself back, with, when in reality, you're free to make a different choice. You're free to just ease into things and relax into things. So try some of those exercises. Those are really great, just to feel in, ease in, and realize that it's just an energy you're holding, and you can make a different choice at any time. So when those challenges come to you, when the good ones come, the really amazing ones come, be in a state of extreme gratitude. I have found that gratitude just raises your vibrations with nothing else. And I know you all practice that already, but having a daily gratitude practice, even when you don't feel it on those days, look at all we have. I mean, we're breathing, our bodies, our lungs, they're working without us doing anything. Our hearts are beating. Be in a state of extreme gratitude. And remember, life is happening for you. I would love for you guys to adapt that phrase, because life is not happening to you. We are not victims of fate. Now, there's a whole big discussion. Like, my daughter said to me, well, what happens when somebody's raped? And I had gone through gang rape in college. I had a lot of things happen to me. There are a lot of things that come into play. Number one, our subconscious beliefs that we form from childhood create. They're like, it's like a hard, what's happening in your hard drive in your computer. And oftentimes we don't know. Remember, we don't see the things the way they are. We see them the way we are. So we have something going on in there. And also there's this whole other thing where there are a lot of things that are not in our control. And that's where the divine comes in, and we have to trust the divine. And I know there are some people that don't like God, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call that energy. But in my experience, even in my difficult experiences, God is love, pure love, and loves us more than we could ever imagine. So remember that. Always ask also, what is this lesson here to teach me? What am I here to learn? Why is this coming to me? I may not know the answers now, but if I ask that question, and I found that if you ask again, you will receive. You may not get it right away, but you will get it, and you will get pieces of it. You'll get what you need it, as you grow. Also, commit to making better choices, looking for the good and seeing the good, doing good, right? Also, again, I mentioned gratitude, and do whatever it takes no matter what. And there's another big piece of this, and it's responsibility. We each get to take responsibility, and that's a hard one. And I have some wonderful exercises for that too. If anybody wants to know, ask me after, and I can share a little exercise that I do. It's amazing. But take responsibility, even when it makes no sense, even when you don't understand. Just say, okay, like I said, surrender's been my lesson. I always just hold my hands out and I go, okay, Spirit, I don't see how this is my responsibility. I don't know how to take responsibility, but please help me. I'm saying, yes, I'm going to do it. Please help me do it. And that always happens. It always comes through for me. Also, one other thing I want you to play too, and keep this in mind. Most of us play the what if down game. So when something happens that seems to be bad, we always say, well, why is this happening to me? What if this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me? What if I die? What if? The what if down game. I want you to start playing the what if up game. What if this is the most spectacular thing that's ever happened to me? What if this is the big piece I've been looking for? What if I'm get healthier than ever through this? Just play the what if up. When you do that, it shifts your entire mindset. It's amazing. And it's an amazing little practice to do. And my dear friend, Mendy Odlin has an amazing book you can check out too. It's also called What If It All Goes Right? And she teaches the what if up game. So that's a good one to check into too. So the last story I want to share with you, and hopefully I have time, is what happened to me last year. So Joe and I were speaking overseas. We were in Italy for a month, and I wasn't feeling particularly well. And I had a year of driving 7,200 miles and taking care of my mother while she, passed, and lots of things were happening. Lots and lots of things were happening. And then Joe and I started traveling. We were going to Thailand, and we went to Italy. We were going a lot of places, and I was tired. I was very tired. I felt tired. I remember when I moved, finally picked up all my stuff from California, moved to Texas, and I'm walking up the stairs, and I remember I just collapsed on the stairs. I couldn't even carry up a box. I was so tired. So I ended up in the hospital last April. My heart rate was 180 beats per minute, almost passed out. Joe's father had died when we were in Milan, the last day of Milan. So he was flying to Ohio to be with his family for his father's funeral. I'm in the hospital. They didn't know what was wrong with me. So I stayed there for a few days, got out, and I started a journey, and finally found out, because I was deathly ill and almost died, but I was diagnosed with neuro-Lyme disease and 9 co-infections. My body had completely shut down. My adrenals had completely shut down. I was not able to see. I was housebound for 6 months, couldn't drive, couldn't do anything. And let me tell you what, after all the work I've done, all the yeses I've said, all the growth that I've gone through, I was really ticked off at God. I was like, I am, devoted to you. I work for you. I live for you. And this is happening to me now. I lost my faith. I went into the dark night of the soul. It was the hardest challenge I had ever had. And I went through the fear because I was so sick. My whole body was just racked with illness and bizarre things I couldn't even share with you about. And I was afraid. I was really afraid. And I had lost my faith. And I called on God, and I didn't feel like my angels, my guides, or anybody was around. And I felt alone. So something happened though. After a month or two of that, I thought, I'm not just going to let myself sit here and die. I'm going to get up and fight. So I started saying yes. I put a big, huge, I made my wall a vision board. I got up on my bed when I couldn't see and I was so sick, and I would, oops, sorry. I went, oh gosh, it's not stopping. Okay. I stood on the edge of my bed and I looked at a microphone. I had a picture of a microphone in front of a crowd, and I started pretending I was speaking to crowds just to keep myself future pacing, you know, what I'm going to do when I'm getting better. I practiced gratitude even when I didn't feel it. I did energy medicine and energy exercises. I did therapy and emotional clearing techniques. I did everything I could possibly think of. And I started to have a shift. Now it took me, I'm still in the process of healing. They found out I had neuro-Lyme probably since the time I was 5 years old, and I'm 61 right now. So I've had it in my body a lot of years, and all it takes is your immune system to go down, and there you go. But it became a glorious lesson because it was a game for me. It was the biggest game on for me ever. It was the biggest yes ever. I was fighting for my life. And I even was videotaping myself on the worst days and, you know, doing things, just doing anything, getting up and dancing, doing anything to raise my vibrations and try to help myself stay in a space of not losing my mind, because I thought they were going to send me to an institution or off in a body bag. And it's amazing because now Joe and I are doing a huge healing course around all of that. So if you can start seeing that your deepest, darkest nights of the soul, when you allow yourself the human moments, it's okay to get angry. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to lose your faith. But eventually, if you really surrender to spirit, you will be brought to a space of, you know, this is the lesson. And I knew that I was here for a greater purpose. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's what I've been doing. And it has been the hardest, longest lesson of my life. It was, you know, that Joe's been going through a whole bunch of crazy, hard things himself. And then we get hit with a pandemic. So it's kind of like, okay, what are we being prepared for? You know, this is big stuff. So again, it's beautiful when you look at the synchronicities, the orchestrations, say yes, allow yourself to be human, but then rise up and make a better choice and work through it. And like I said, there's no magic pill. It's taken me over a year and I'm still healing. The big takeaway is this: today is a miracle. You are living in a miracle space at all times. Whether things go well or they don't go well, you are still living in a miracle space. I mean, we live on a ball and planet, you know, a planet in outer space, a ball that revolves. I mean, you know, wrap your head around that one, right? Your body's a miracle. Everything is a miracle right now in this very moment. And also remember this: you are so loved. And I get emotional when I say this too, because the divine is always holding us at all times, even when we don't feel it. The divine is always there. It's never apart from us, ever. Sometimes I think it shuts itself off because there are things that we need to go through or things we need to learn, but we are never separate from the divine, ever. So just trust that you are being divinely guided and allow yourself to be refined and stretched and grown beyond your wildest dreams, because again, you are all teachers. You are all learning things. You are all here to evolve and grow. And again, you have to become more to hold more. If you stay small and you stay in your small little space, you will never shine your light like you're supposed to shine your light. So allow it to happen. It's like that diamond in the rough, you know, allow the refining process and allow yourself to shine brighter than you've ever shone before. And just try it. What do you have to lose? Just try it and see what happens. It is a miraculous process. And I want to thank you for letting me share my experiences, because it has been so profound. As you can tell, I get excited about it. And again, it's been such an honor to spend time with you this morning. All of our speaking gigs are canceled or postponed till the end of next year. So I was really happy to show up here and talk about what I'm passionate about. Loving you each. And if you have any questions, please reach out so I can answer them. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, Lisa. Kudos, thank you. Lots of clapping going on, even though you can't hear it. I know it's a challenge to speak when you can't see the reactions of people. But that was a very touching story about your mother, very powerful story about your healing, and we're so glad that you're well enough to be with us today and to share that. And I believe that after the service, will you stay around for questions? Okay, great, great. After the service, Lisa will stay around for questions.